The first time I volunteered, I felt I had been touched by an angel. I saw so many impoverished people that had lived with debilitating and terrible conditions all their lives because of lack of available medical care. I saw children, even adults, with unrepaired cleft lips and palates that wore a mask to hide their deformity. In some of these countries, these children would not be allowed to attend high school because it was felt that they would never be able to function in society because of their appearance and unintelligible speech from their unrepaired cleft palate. Others had survived awful burns, injuries that plagued the developing world because of open fire cooking, fire pits, and cauldrons with boiling water. As there is poor or no access to proper burn care, these children never received early debridement and grafting, but were treated with simple dressing changes. If they survived, they were melted together with terrible, painful contractures, making it impossible for them to feed themselves, put on their clothes, or even walk depending on the location of their injuries. They were kind people who were so appreciative of one's caring even when at times you could not help. The parents who may have carried their child down from a remote mountain village and then taken a 10-hour bus trip to see you had the utmost trust in your ability and readily would hand that child onto your care. There were so many patients to take care of that many cases that we could do under general anesthesia back home, we did under local because of lack of available time in the hospital. I remember repairing many a 6 or 7-year-old child with a cleft lip or burn contracture under local in a small procedure room. They wanted this taken care of so badly that they would sit quietly and alone while I did the repair with a scrub tech. When you paused and thought how much suffering they had undergone, it would break your heart. There is still so much to be done throughout the world, but we are one human race, and thanks to globalization and the internet, we are growing closer every day. I feel privileged to be part of an organization like Blanca's House, who cares for those in need everywhere, and yet they are local. They are our own community, our neighbors, our friends, and what could be better than that? I would like to thank everyone from Blanca's House for bestowing this honor on my behalf. In particular to my team leaders, Galo Burbano and Kerry O'Sullivan. It is definitely humbling to me to see so many people here at Blanca's House working so hard throughout the year to make all of what Blanca's House does happen. They are truly dedicated, caring, and selfless folks. I would also like to thank my colleagues, Dr. Bowie, Kahn, Gans, Gelfand, Houston, and Doug Mueller, who have covered my practice in my absence. My children, Erica, Camilla, and Conrad, and my wife Isabel in particular, who has put up with me being away several weeks a year in all corners of the globe, sometimes not in the safest of places. There are 3 people who had great influence in my early life, 2 of whom are no longer here today, but what they taught and imparted in me carries through today. My father, who was born in rural Argentina and grew up in the Great Depression when times were tough, with poverty, famine, sickness being commonplace, instilled in me at a very young age a sense of responsibility and compassion for humanity and the less fortunate. My uncle, a general thoracic surgeon, taught me how to care for patients and how a little kindness goes a long way in making people feel better. My mother always gave me the best advice as a youth. She was always right and true to this day. Volunteering, I feel, is something that comes from the heart. A desire to help your fellow men, and particularly those in need. I'm often asked, why do you volunteer abroad when there are so many indigent patients here at home? I say that is true, and despite all our efforts, there is so much more to be done in our homeland, but even more overseas. It is overwhelming to see so many people in need of one's help, and no matter how hard you work on any volunteer trip, you cannot care for everyone that you see. It is heartbreaking to send children with congenital deformities, disfigurement from burns back home hundreds of miles away because you ran out of time. Thank you.
I'm a practicing pediatrician in Long Island, and I'm proud to be here this evening to receive this award from Blanca's House. I want to thank my kids. My kids are great, and my kids who have come on the missions, and my kids that haven't come on the missions. I love them. And my friends who've been supportive in all my missions, and my partners, and most of all, I want to thank my husband, Tony, my rock, who still makes me laugh and allows me to go on all these missions to Blanca's House. Hopefully one year I'm going to get him to come on a mission with me, okay? He keeps promising, maybe. One day he'll come. I was taking a graduate course at Stony Brook University in public health, And one of the professors was talking about Blanca's house. And listening to him describing his trip, I said, you know what? This is something that I should be doing, or I would love to get involved in. And I kind of Googled it one night, found Blanca's house, filled out an application, and before I knew it, I got a call. And they said, we're looking for a pediatrician. How about coming on a trip? And I was like, wow, this is something that I had never really thought too much about, but I was at the stage of my life that I said, you know what? This is something that I really should do. And signed up, got on my first trip, and since then, I've been going year after year, and as of now, I've been on 6 trips with Blanca's house. I've been blessed that I have 4 kids, 3 of them have come on trips with me. Each and every one of those trips stand out to me. And watching my children as adults and watching them in a situation and being proud of them and what they were doing to help people in need. They make me appreciate what I have here in the United States as a physician compared to what I don't have there when I go to Ecuador. I look forward to my missions. Whenever there's a call, can you go? And I always sit there and I go, yeah, I'm going. And when I don't get called to go on a mission lately, I said, well, why not? Make room, I'm coming. I think as healthcare workers, when we come back from these missions, we take a lot back with us. We gain a lot. So it's a two-way street. We do give a lot to a lot of poor patients over in Ecuador, but us as physicians, I think it rekindles in each and every one of us, no matter what field we're in, be it doctors, nurses, PAs, nurse practitioners, anesthesiologists, but we all come back with this feeling of warmth that continues with us, that we took back just as much as we gave. I mean, that's my outlook on it, and that continues and causes me to go back each time. I need another Blanca house fix. I need to feel good again. Sometimes medicine in the United States is going through its ups and downs, but Blanca's house, you always feel great when you go. You're giving back, and that's why we went into the medical field. We went to help people, and you definitely feel that when you're in Blanca's house. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Anytime I have a colleague that I'll sit and I'll go, hey, let me show you my pictures, and they'll go, wait, I want to get involved, and I go, great, when do you want to come? Fill out an application, let's go. Tell them you know me, I'll get you through, let's go. It's just a wonderful we'll We at Blanca's house, we're a surgical team mostly, and we make a difference in a lot of families, but we can't cure everything. And turning away those kids that you really can't make a difference for, I think that is the hardest part. Sometimes you find that one particular case, and then you try to convince the surgeon, there's only so many cases you can do in a day. And so we'll look at the whole list that we have, and we'll see one particular case, and we go, we have to do this case. And the surgeon will say, I have 20 on the list. We'll go, okay, I know, but do this one. This is the one that's going to make the big difference. This is the one, the kid that you need to do. And then you see the big difference that you do make when you tell the parents sometimes you can't do everybody. You have to turn away some kids, and the ones that walk for miles so that they can be at least seen by the American doctors. And then you do find that kid that you can make a difference, and you do get them on that OR list, and you do that surgery that changes that kid's life and that family's life. That everybody feels great. I remember this little girl was sitting on the bench, and she had a stocking over her head, and with little eyes cut out, and I looked, and the woman was saying, well, you the American doctors. And I said, yeah, what can we do for you? She took the little girl's mask off, and she was completely burned. And my heart went out to her. And I went looking for wherever I could find, and I found my buddy Galo. And Galo, I don't think anybody in the world has a heart bigger than Galo. Galo just keeps doing. When people can't do anymore, he just keeps doing. And I said, Galo, this is the one. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, this is the one. We need to make a difference in this little girl's life. I said, all right, let me see. And I brought him back, and we found Jocelyn. And he said, okay, let me see. Let me get Dr. Dagum. Let's look. And little by little, everybody became convinced that, yes, this is the one. And Jocelyn has already had surgery, and the Blanca team has already begun to make a difference in this little girl's life. But the people that go on these trips are wonderful. The great friends that I've made on these trips, and the camaraderie you have, and even friendships that we've continued. We come back to the States. We get together with a lot of the nurses and the doctors, and we share our memories. So you just meet great people. I guess it's a great organization. It attracts just wonderful, wonderful human beings. Galo is the man with the biggest heart of anyone that I know. Galo makes it happen, or at least he tries to make it happen, and Galo doesn't stop. And sometimes I have conversations with Galo, and I go, Galo, enough. You can't do everything. We can't change the world, okay? Let's pick a couple of things and do it really well. You can't do it all. And Galo's like, but we can try. We can try. Galo just keeps giving. Galo's remarkable. There's nobody like Galo.
I'd like to thank Blanca's House for giving me the opportunity to treat Kevin and for bringing him here to Stony Brook, and certainly for a boy as young as him, it gives him an opportunity to lead a normal life as possible without being stigmatized for the rest of his life. From this initial experience with Blanca's House, I can certainly say that the resources that were utilized went to a highly efficient system of bringing somebody here, of making sure that everything was systematically organized. And everybody who is concerned about donating to a charity is always concerned about where their money is going to go. And I think that I can certainly, even from my single N of one and experience of one, be able to assure people that certainly their money would be going to good use and ultimately changing people's lives. Well, the things that I treat are life-threatening strokes, life-threatening problems. Certainly somebody with a ruptured aneurysm, they're going to get care. Somebody with a stroke, they will hopefully get care. The physicians and Stony Brook, the physicians are donating their time. Obviously the institution is donating their resources. In a third world country, even in more advanced countries, for something like a cosmetic deformity, if you don't have the means and you don't have the financial means to come to the United States or go to a physician who's going to be able to manage that, it's going to be much more difficult. Essentially, elective procedures are much more difficult to perform. Even in Canada and England and the UK have been sort of touted as these great healthcare systems. Number one, the populations are much more homogeneous than the populations that we have in the United States. The diseases are much more varied because of our diverse population in the United States than in many of those other countries, and we're just also a much larger country, and just by sheer size, the logistics of managing stuff like this is much more difficult. Yet at the same time, we're able to provide the best care in the world. And in Canada or in the United States, if Kevin's parents didn't have the means, he probably would not be able to get treated. I would probably need to go down, or maybe not even necessarily go down, but get an assessment of what type of imaging equipment exists down there, what type of surgical equipment exists down there, and then try to identify which patients with various lesions I could help, and then we would have to bring down medications, for instance, the material that we inject, the contrast materials that we utilize in order to image where the injected medications are going to go, et cetera, et cetera. And then if some of those things were lined up, depending upon what was there already and what we could potentially bring down, then I think that would be a reasonable and feasible scenario. Philanthropy and donating your time and your energy and your effort, especially to people who are underprivileged and who don't have the same opportunities that we have in the United States. We do, despite all the healthcare sort of politics that's going on in the United States today, we still have by far the best healthcare and the most sophisticated healthcare in the world by an order of magnitude. And it just, I think, goes to speak to the ability of us. We're an advanced civilized country, and also the citizens and the physicians and all the people involved should behave in an advanced civilized fashion, and that means taking care of those who are underprivileged and who are not going to be able to afford those opportunities for themselves. When I came to Stony Brook in 2007, there was not a single physician who specialized in procedures like what Kevin was going to undergo, or treatments for aneurysms or strokes, or those types of life-threatening problems as well. Stony Brook has invested tens of millions of dollars into my program, as well as the research that we do, and so it is now probably one of the premier centers in the tri-state area. This is really my first foray into working with Blanca's House. I'm certainly willing to provide more care as needed. My care is pretty specialized though, so the stuff that I do probably is not so easily transferable to a third world country. We have a lot of very, very sophisticated equipment here, a lot of other things that really require advanced imaging capabilities in order to do. So I don't know how effective I would be down there the way that Alex is with surgery. Certainly even neurosurgical procedures require a significant amount of additional equipment other than just simple surgical tools. Certainly, yes, if there is an opportunity for me to help in a mission, I would be more than happy to consider that, and hopefully that will happen at some point in the future, but I think that it would also need to be in a situation where I really could help.
I really want to thank everyone for honoring me tonight with Blanca's house. I especially want to thank my husband, Harry, who holds down the fort when I leave and really allows me to go and experience these missions. Without him, I wouldn't be able to do it. I also want to thank Luisa, my partner in crime, for getting me involved from the beginning, always being there with me, and really experiencing this with her has been so fabulous. My partner, Dr. Luisa, had gone on a trip with Blanca's house and came back and raved about her experience and told me I had to come and do it, and it was the best thing I ever did. The missions have humbled me, especially as a physician. We take a lot of things for granted in the United States, and the medical care that we can provide, the things that we have available to us, from medicines to equipment. And when you go to a country like Ecuador and you see the poverty and try to practice medicine under those circumstances, it's very humbling. I try not to take for granted what I have as a physician and as a parent and as a person, having gone to Ecuador and experienced these missions. One of the best things that it offered to me was it gave me time to, I brought 2 of my children with me. You get to see your children in a different light. I got to see them really step up and serve a role, be team players, participate. Really saw them more as individuals rather than as my own children. It was spectacular to see that. I think I was really surprised to see the difference in the level of care that you can receive in the United States and that you would receive in Ecuador. I think about, we went with an ENT doctor the first time, and he was removing goiters mostly from elderly women, and I just never thought about a goiter here in the United States, and I said, well, what would happen if we didn't come here and you didn't remove it? And he said they would die, and they would just suffocate from the weight of their own goiter. So when I heard that, I was floored. I was thinking, this is obviously life-altering what we're doing here, and the experience that we're providing. As a team, we bring down everything from the complete OR supplies to, toys and giveaways for the kids. They don't get poor medical care, especially not due to the lacking of, concerned physicians and ancillary staff. It's just the facilities, what's available to them, and what they have access to, really. So many people, especially the parents of children, are very desperate to have us look at their children and examine them and hopefully perform a procedure for them, that they're thrusting their children at you and asking you help, and I usually step aside and make Dr. Luisa choose the patients that are going to be brought in and be seen, because it's a very difficult decision to make. So people always ask us when I come home and I show them all the pictures of the cleft lips and palates, because that's the one, as a pediatrician, that I find most rewarding to be involved in. People always say, oh, there are more there, and there might be a slight increase in the prevalence of cleft lip and palate in Ecuador. But what you'll know is that in the United States, the babies don't even leave the hospital like that. They have one step of the procedure or the beginnings of it. They have very early intervention in the process of feeding and correcting their lip and palate. So a lot of Americans don't see it anymore, and so they don't think it exists. It exists, you just don't see it. In early childhood, we repair cleft lips and palates of 12-year-old, 14-year-olds in Ecuador. First of all, I've met doctors from Long Island that I've referred to and never really even met them, and then I get to put a face to the name and work side by side with them and spend time with them, travel with them. That's been great. And we got to work with doctors from Ecuador, attending physicians plus medical students. It's nice to see the incorporation of different medical practices while we're there. That's interesting. I have friends and they're like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, what am I going to do? I said, can you translate? Can you move boxes? Can you, put patients in a line and, in order? Because just to be there and experience it, it's life altering. So you want people to get to feel what I feel and have the experience. So I recommend it wholeheartedly to anybody. Everyone stands out. That's what's amazing. You cannot believe the group of people. Each time it's a different group, some overlap and some new. One person better than the next. Dedicated, hardworking. I can't believe that we can keep finding all these people. And I mean, when you say who, I always think of Galo, of course, our fearless leader. Sometimes I step back and I think he made all this happen. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And then Kerry has been with us every time, who I don't think I'd want to go without her. I love having her there as a nurse and as a friend. Just everybody. You can't believe the quality of people that you meet. It actually renews your faith in humanity when you meet these great people. Mm-hmm.
In 2006, I went on a mission with Galo while we went with Healing the Children. Blanca's house had not even been invented yet. And then right after that, he started his own program, and he called it Blanca's House. And I went on another mission in 2008. I had never been in a third world country before, and to see, people who, you can read about it all you want, but people who really have nothing and no access to medical care, and it's just accepted. It's the way it is, and everybody's okay with it. And they're so grateful for whatever little bit you could give them, and it was just an amazing feeling. You actually leave feeling like you didn't do enough. You wish you had more time, more of everything to give to these people. I heard that Galo was going, and I sought him out because it was something I really wanted to do. I thought it was such a great thing, and it was hard at the time because we have 4 kids, and Jimmy was great because he, made sure everything was okay at home, and I was able to go. I always wanted to do something like that to give back or whatever, and when I heard Galo was going, I really wanted to be a part of it.
Sheila has a history of volunteering, has many things over the years she has done. She's always stepping up and volunteering for.
I'm a nurse, Jimmy's a fireman. Our youngest, when he was 5, he told us he never wanted to be a nurse or a fireman, and we asked him why, and he said, well, a nurse could get sick and a fireman could get burnt. And we said, oh, but why do you think people do things like that? And he said, oh, to help others. I'm not interested in that at all. So we said, we have a lawyer. Kerry had a little girl, Angie, the year before, and I helped Kerry out a lot when she was working, taking her to the doctor, whatever. And then Kerry mentioned to me that there was a boy that was coming that needed a home. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to try and sell this at home, because we took people into our home twice before and it didn't work out. So not everybody was really for it, but they all supported me, and they said they would do it again one more time. Kevin came to us in the middle of January of 2013. He arrived at Kennedy Airport, and Kerry and I went to pick him up, and he didn't speak a word of English. He was severely deformed, facially deformed. I just remember when we got to the airport seeing this little 9-year-old with a suitcase, and just couldn't believe that he could come without his parents, without anyone. And he always just said, I'm here for a cure. It was really heartbreaking. And eventually they say, he would have stopped being able to swallow, stopped being able to breathe, because the growths were all outside as well as all inside his tongue, down his throat. And he wore these collars that his mother had made for him, and it was to shield most of the disfigurement from people. And he had probably 10 of them. They were all, handmade, and he wore them all the time. I learned when I brought him home, and from different things that I had heard from people, that the school system isn't really very good for children like Kevin. And, you know, I wanted to change that. So I talked to his parents about him going to private school, and they said no. So I dropped it because I felt like, you know, we talked about it even, that's their family, and it's not our decision to make, to say this is better or you should do this, so I dropped it. But then I found out through somebody else that his mother felt we had done enough, and that was why she said no. So I asked them to talk to her again and, you know, say we really want to do it if she wants it. So they both said yes, and he started private school in Ecuador. There's transportation cost, and then he has to have a uniform. It's like $1,200 and maybe $1,800 a year. He also will have English every day. And I think when you're in a private school, you have a lot more opportunity to go on to secondary education. And, you know, to me, that's the only way out of poverty, you know, is to become educated. And he's so smart. He did so well in school here, and I'm really excited about it. I'm nervous about it, but I'm really, really excited. It's a way better education, and the last time we talked to him, he said everything was going well. I'm hoping to be able to send his brothers as well. When Kevin left us, he was fluent in English, and he is losing his English a little bit, but when he Skypes with us, he tries really hard to speak to us in English, and that was great when he was with us. One of the times we were Skyping with his parents, and he's talking to them in Spanish, and he turned around to say something to me in English, and his family's amazement to see their son speaking another language. You know, he was so bright, though. He was really, really a smart kid. He was part of our family. He came to every family party. All our extended family knew him. I mean, he
was a rock star when he was here. Because all of the people that Sheila worked with and other friends of ours and stuff, everybody wanted to be involved with him because he just was so pleasant.
So sweet. Really, nice, really sweet kid. Everybody loved him. It's life-changing, and it was really a wonderful experience. We really appreciate that Blanca's House is honoring us tonight. We're so grateful for the honor, but we really put it back to them, because to me Blanca's House is what should be honored here.